Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Plan and Zone Commission public hearing for today, February 28th, last day of the month. We'll start off with our public hearing. Commissioner Tallman, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Schneider.
Present.
Eichelberry.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Tallman, present. Ingram.
Present.
Hepner.
Here.
Bransgard.
Present.
Reinhardt. Present. Manus.
Here.
Garrington's excused and Stelk.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. First item of new business is case REZ 2301. It's a request of Midwest Fidelity Partners LLC to rezone 1930 and 1934 Division Street and 1711 Pleasant Street from R4C Single Family and Two Family Central Residential District to C2 Corridor Commercial District. Matt?
Thank you. The subject properties, there's 3 residential properties highlighted in yellow on the map. So this is located at the corner of Division Street and Pleasant. It's situated on a triangular block just north of the 5 Points intersection. So just to the west is Wallach's Auto Service, and then to the south is the Jumpin' Joey's location across the street from Walgreens. So 3 sites are currently zoned R-4C, which is a single and 2 family central residential district. The Jumpin' Joey's location directly south is zone C2 Corridor Commercial District, and that's consistent with the zoning of the properties around that intersection of Division, Locust, and Hickory Grove. And then just to the west of the alley on the same block, that property is zone C1, which is a neighborhood commercial district. And you'll see more C1 zoning as you move east from this intersection. The future land use map identifies this whole block and this corner of the city as commercial node. It's also located in the corridor commercial district. So the purpose of the R4C district, that's really meant to preserve and protect Davenport's dense, centrally located and established residential neighborhoods. There are design standards for this zoning district that ensure that new development is complementary to the existing developed character of the neighborhood. So that's the existing zoning. The applicant's petitioning a rezoning to C2, which is corridor commercial district. That's meant to address the commercial corridors, oriented towards a mix of retail, personal service, and office uses along collector streets. It's meant more for mixed-use development with the intent of improving pedestrian environment along Davenport's commercial corridors. The applicant has provided a concept plan. So their intent would be to rezone the 3 residential parcels at the north of the block, which currently have homes on them, and then to combine that with the commercial establishment at the south. So basically everything on the east of that alley, so the east half of that block would be part of the redevelopment. So they're showing a car wash with the conceptual layout and conceptual building elevations. It's important to note that we're not reviewing this project for a car wash. We're reviewing it for the zoning to see if C2 is an appropriate zoning district for this location. So that includes all the permitted and special uses in that district. In terms of public input, the applicant held a neighborhood meeting on February 16th at Johnson School, which is just a couple blocks to the west along Locust Street. Despite the snowy weather, we had about a dozen people that showed up to that meeting. Some of the comments raised from the public pertain to traffic and access points to the site, parking, hours of operation of a car wash, and some of the noise that's associated with the car wash, as well as landscaping. Property owners within 200 feet were notified of the neighborhood meeting, as well as tonight's public hearing. To date, we've received 2 written comments in support of the rezoning, one of which was from the property owner of this subject. And we published a notice in the Quad City Times as well. So for tonight, the recommendation is to hold the public hearing Staff will provide a formal recommendation at the March 14th Plan and Zone Commission meeting.
Matt, would you have any objection if we went ahead and just tied the second item together since they're both hand in hand? In that case, I'm going to read the second item too. Case ROW 23-01 is a request of Midwest Fidelity Partners LLC to vacate the alley right away located west of Division Street between Pleasant Street and Hickory Grove Road. Matt?
Sure. So this is closely tied with the rezoning request to facilitate development of this block. So there's currently a north-south alley that connects Pleasant Street to Hickory Grove. Two of the residential properties use that alley for access to their property. As part of the development plan, those would be demolished. It's a 20-foot wide alley. So upon vacation, the legal department would facilitate the transfer of land. So this is a view on the left looking from Pleasant Street south. So you have that existing home that's, if the rezoning is approved and the development moves forward, would be demolished. And then you have the back of the Wallach's Auto Service there. And then the right photo is a view from Hickory Grove Road looking north. There are some utility poles within the alley. Staff is communicating with some of those companies on potentially relocating that should development occur. So here's the zoning map, which we've discussed. In our future land use map is commercial corridor. And then once again, the concept plan. So the concept plan in this case, that alley portion would be used as landscaping and a buffer to the auto sales service establishment. Neighborhood meetings aren't required for vacations, but since this is so closely tied with the rezoning case, vacating the alley was also discussed at the February 16th neighborhood meeting. Alley vacations, it's a two-step process. The first is to determine if the right-of-way is needed for public purposes. And then the second would be to negotiate and determine terms of conveyance to adjacent property owners, which does not require action by Plan and Zone Commission. And then likewise, the staff recommendation will be provided at the March 14th meeting.
Thank you, Matt. Commissioners, any questions of staff at this time before I entertain the petitioner? Seeing none, would a representative of the petitioner like to step forward and explain your project?
I'd be happy to. Good evening, everyone. I'm Josh Johnson. I'm here on behalf of MFP Partners. I'm with Houston Engineering. I came down from Sioux Falls to visit with all of you tonight. Do you need a formal address?
Please.
3900 West Technology Circle, Suite 6, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So as a part of our project, staff has done a nice job explaining everything, and I think you're all pretty clear that it's a rezone that we need the extra land to do the car wash development. Our goal is to really clean this lot up on many levels, from access to all of the activity that's currently there, and create a service for both the neighborhood and the community in this location. We feel it works pretty well, and our spacing and driveways seems appropriate based on what we had discussions with engineering. Hours of operation, I'll just go over a few things and then you can all hit me up with all the questions you want. So hours of operation during the summer are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. In the winter, we go from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. We're happy to, we have no problems with any landscaping or meeting any of the requirements that the city has sort of laid out for us at this point. Obviously, those aren't conditions on any of the site plan. We intend to keep all the sidewalks or replace the sidewalks in this area so it's still walkable and usable from a commercial and residential standpoint, and pretty much meet all the other requirements that we need. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward in what we're showing you. So we'd have 12 to 14 back bays and 5 parking stalls for employees. We typically have 3 to 5 employees on site at any time. And there should be no need for employee parking on the street. And we provided what we've experienced to be plenty stacking room for pay booths. And there'd be 2 pay booths or 2 pay lanes in this scenario. And our experience is that we've got more than enough stacking available for all of that. So that's kind of a lot of it in a nutshell. Any questions that I can answer of you?
Commissioners, any questions of the petitioner at this time? Commissioner Manus.
Thank you. I'm wondering what would be the plan for outdoor lighting of the site? What
So
would
we
that
would,
be?
as we come forward with our site plan, that will have a full lighting plan that would meet any of the city requirements. And those are typically turned off once the operation is closed in the evening. So after, I would say probably once they close everything down by 9 o'clock at night, those are probably turned off.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you. My question is, obviously you're familiar with car washes.
And
Yes.
we've done 1 or 2, yeah.
Okay, what type of traffic plans are you looking at in terms of entrance and exit? And on what main arteries are you gonna put them on?
Can I borrow your pointer? Okay. So as you're well aware, there are multiple driveways along Division and multiple driveways along this corridor. We are gonna take all of those out except for one, which on Division lines up with the Walgreens entrance. And then one along Hickory. So we've got one in, well, they're both in and out, 2-way traffic, but basically the plan is you enter here and you loop through, here's your pay lanes. You drive into the tunnel here and you exit, and you can either come out here or come over to the vac bays and exit or entrance here also. And the vacuums are free to anybody that wants to use them, just, there's a lot of questions on that in the past. You don't have to get a car wash to use the vacuum, so you can swing in, vacuum, and then go through the car wash or skip the vacuums altogether if you'd like to.
Being in the car wash business, how many cars do you anticipate entering and leaving in, say, the course of a 5-minute, 10-minute, or even an hourly basis?
It takes about 2 to 2.5 minutes to cycle a car through the car wash on a busy day. So on a peak hour, you might see 35 to 40 cars cycle through there, but they move pretty well, and you've got stacking in this lane probably for 10 to 12 vehicles per pay lane stack. So that's how we operate them.
All right.
I also have Graham Westra, who's with MFP, and he's more on the operations side. So if you have any questions regarding operations, he's excellent at following.
I'm just concerned that that's a pretty busy intersection at 5 Points right now.
Sure.
Adding more traffic to it is a concern that I have.
Our discussions with staff have been to pull as much of our access off of the Division and Hickory corner. You got that turn lane there, so that we aren't affecting traffic at this intersection nearly to the level that could be if there were a driveway here, for example. So our goal was to line up with Walgreens so that we sort of kept them off that intersection.
All right, thank you.
Any additional questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate you putting up with us tonight, so appreciate it.
At this time, I will open up the floor to anybody in the audience that would like to speak either in favor of or against this proposal. If you feel the need to speak, please step up to the podium, identify yourself, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to discuss.
Name's Thomas Pilcher. I live at 1720 West Pleasant. So it's basically across the street and across the alley. And I'm in favor of it, and not a problem. The only thing I wanted and I don't know if this is the right committee, but parking on West Pleasant there, even like today, is horrendous. And especially when you have 2 fire trucks coming from Station 6, you got parking on both sides of the street. It's one lane down the middle and they come off a division. It's just a mess. So somewhere along the line, I'd like to see the parking from the alley to Division Street on the south side there against the car wash. They have that at like a no parking along there. It would probably alleviate a lot of that traffic. But as a neighbor, everything else looks good, but I just wanted to throw that in the mix, so. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
My name is John Corellis, and I'm the owner of the property at the northwest intersection of Hickory Grove and Locust Street, the 3 buildings. I had a couple questions. What kind of stormwater detention will they require? Have you discussed that yet?
Matt?
Sure.
Or Laura?
Sorry. So it would be our normal stormwater requirements. So it's based off of an inch of rain in the 100-year storm, which those calculations are published at the state level. They do show at the corner over here, their stormwater detention area. So it would detain into that intersection area right now, as well as do the necessary water quality standards, just like any kind of new development would require it to. But we have not seen formal stormwater calculations yet.
All right. Well, I wanted to come. I provided a letter that encouraged the approval of this project, and I thought that it was worthwhile enough to take the time to come and do the same thing. Personally, it would be a nice improvement for the intersection. I have a concern for traffic, but I think the way that they've laid this out, it will flow pretty nicely. And so I would encourage a positive vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hefner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for staff. Currently, there is not detention on this site. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this is somewhat of an improvement for water management?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the audience? Final call for the audience? Seeing none? Commissioners, Commissioner Reinhardt.
Now, this is a question for Laura. I'm thinking about some of the other changes in zoning where we put in like Chick-fil-A's and some other types of businesses that require people to drive up, wait their turn, and then go through. Question is the city thinking about what they're planning on doing with the extra traffic that's going to be coming down there on peak times as well as off-peak times, investing more money into the roads and turning lanes and that type of thing?
So the city's cognizant of this concern. I think many of the zoning uses in the C2 district would also cause concerns. The issue with car washes is it very much ebbs and flows, right? You have the first nice day of winter and you have a crazy line. So we are evaluating that impact specifically for car wash since that's the intended use, but for other uses as well. And it would be any impacts that require any kind of improvement, it would be at the developer's expense.
All right, fine, thank you.
Any additional questions? I've got a few myself regarding traffic. I lived through the reconstruction of Division and Kimberly, and I'm addressing this to staff since we do not have a traffic engineer here. As you recall, Division and Kimberly, when Walgreens and then the Quick Star got built, became a traffic logistical nightmare. I witnessed numerous accidents there. I drive through it dozens of times a day. I see a lot of similarities in what we're doing potentially at 5 Points. You know, at Kimberly and Division, you got 4 road intersection scenario. Now you got 5 at 5 Points. I'm concerned about, I see a lot of people doing right turns on red illegally. I can only imagine people coming up Division and maybe they can't get in the first entrance, so they come up to Hickory Grove and Locust, and they decide, well, nobody's coming, I'll just whip around the corner and pull in that way. I'm very worried. It doesn't matter whether it's car wash. C2 can command more intense traffic and less intense traffic. I'm not beating up on the car wash. I hope you understand that. I'm just concerned that if the engineer is here, I would ask him how much was invested to rebuild Kimberly and Division. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I will admit it was a smart move either on the city or the state's part because Kimberly Road is a state highway. Traffic accidents there have been reduced significantly in my own personal opinion. I don't know logistically if the city has a traffic count as to accidents there, but I gotta believe it's been reduced at least by half. I'm extremely concerned. I'm not against the new business there. I'm not necessarily against the car wash. I just don't know how this traffic's gonna flow because if you got 35 to 50 cars an hour going in there, I'm not sure 35 to 50 cars goes into Walgreens in an hour. But it was a mess, and I would encourage the petitioner maybe to go out to that intersection and see what was done. They eliminated certain turning directions, like if you were going north on Division, you used to be able to turn into Walgreens. Well, you can't do that now because it was stacking up into the Kimberly Road traffic. I hope the city takes a real serious look at what traffic fiasco that could be regardless of what goes in there, you know, unless it's something that only gets 10 cars an hour. I'm extremely concerned. I've stood up there, I've watched traffic, I've done traffic counts. I'm worried about it because the right turns on red create a lot of issues and this could invite that, as any commercial property would. I hope you understand. I'm not trying to beat up on you. I'm just saying it's a very high traffic area that, very similar to Kimberly and Division, that took some real serious money to redesign that intersection. I hope traffic takes a serious look at this. And again, I wish Brian were here because I would like to have some representative from engineering to have some dialogue with them. At this point, I guess that's all I've got. Final call for any questions or statements from the audience after my little statement. Commissioners, final call on either of these 2 petitions? Seeing none, we will close case REZ 23-01 and case ROW 23-01. And it will return to us in 2 weeks?
Yeah, March 14th.
March 14th, correct. I thank you for your attendance to come down from South Dakota.
Yeah, thank you.
Fortunately, the weather's a little better than it was for the neighborhood meeting. And we look forward to seeing you back in a couple weeks.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You bet, absolutely. That will conclude our public hearing meeting. We will move on to our regular meeting agenda. You are free to leave if you decide you don't want to stick around for our second half of the meeting. Please do your discussions outside.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Commissioner Tallman.
Schneider,
Present.
Michael Perry,
Present.
Johnson,
Present.
Tallman, present, Ingram,
Present.
Ebner,
Here.
Branscard,
Here.
Reinhardt,
Here.
Manus,
Here.
Garrington is excused, Stelk.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. Report of city council activity.
Okay, I have two. First being that P 23-01, which is Ryder Villas, it's preliminary plat for Ryder Villas, was approved on February 8th by City Council. And then REZ 22-08, which is the 1112 Bridge Avenue rezoning, was approved by council on February 22nd meeting with amendments to the conditions.
Laura, I know you explained to me what the amendment was.
Sure.
Could you enlighten the commission?
Sure, so they reduced the total number of units allowed to 3. So it was P and Z's recommendation to 4, so it was reduced down to 3. Clarification in that it cannot be subdivided to get extra units to that it's the entirety of the area, so 3 units total. And then there's a condition in there as well about if the building is damaged or destroyed, the only type of dwelling unit that would be allowed to be rebuilt would be single or 2-family homes. So that kind of gets at some of the neighborhood character concerns that some of the property owners had. They also did add in some clarification to revoke the daycare as the allowed use that's currently, it's allowed use. There was also domestic violence shelters was also added as a prohibited use.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that, and I'm
Yep.
sure the commission does too. Secretary's report.
Move the report.
All in favor of the report? Second. Thank you, Dave. All in favor of the report as printed, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it will remain the same. Any comp plan?
Nothing to report.
Laura, we talked not too long ago about considering the reopening of the comp plan 2035. You know, I realize that's 10 years away, but we all know how fast time
Right.
goes. Has there been any future or additional discussion on that?
I've had some brief conversations with administration on it. They've told me that I can start doing some research onto expected costs associated with either a full update or another amendment to the plan. So I will be evaluating that and seeing if we can incorporate it into the capital improvement plan in the future. But largely, I think knowing some of the investments that the city is making out west in particular, we will need to address that.
And that's why I bring that up. I'm envisioning some
Yes.
activity.
Yes, we most definitely need to address that when that development, when that city's investment on the sewer system, it comes to fruition.
Thank you, Laura. There is no zoning activity or subdivision activity tonight. Any future business, Laura?
Yes, so the items for you today will be back on March 14th, as well as some subdivisions.
Thank you. Any communications? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? See none? Any other business? See none?
Move to adjourn, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. We are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.